I am so happy to be here today to talk to you about how to build a profitable event. And that is one of the reasons why they call me the butts in the seat queen. And so today, you're probably asking yourself, well, why do I want to know how to build an event? You do want to know, and you do want to write down some of these tips today, because right now is the time that you need to be planning your event. If you've had to postpone your event this year, or if you're creating a new event, which I think people should be thinking right now how to create a different stream of revenue and planning a profitable, notice I said profitable event is important. So some of the things that I teach when I am coaching, creating a profitable event, there are 5 major things that I tend to go over when I'm teaching how to create your own profitable event. And number one is make a plan. So you don't want to go into anything without making a plan. And I'm going to come back to that real soon. Number 2 is build your own team. You want to build that great team that's going to help you with this. Number 3, identify multiple streams of event income. This is essential. So I always tell people, make sure that you know how you're going to create that income to pay for this event. And number 4, book your event speakers. So you want to book the right speakers. There's no perfect sense to it, but there is some logic to it. And 5, you want to promote your event. These are the 5 major things that I like to go over each time. And then I throw in on the other side, branding, because you got to brand your event right. And in that case, I always like to bring in somebody who's like that's their skill and that's their calling. So today, we don't have a lot of time to go over everything, because when you're planning an event and when you're working it out, there are many, many steps that you must do. So today I'm going to focus on making your plan to have a profitable event. And this is really important, that you focus on making your plan. You start with a plan. So the first thing you want to do is talk about your why. When you're sitting down and you're thinking about creating an event, you want to have your why. If creating an event isn't just about money, but you definitely want to make sure you're making money. So you want to make sure that you figure out your why. What is the reason why you want to do this event? What is your mission? What's your vision? Do other people buy into your vision? What is your passion that you want to see it turned into an event? So you want to take that initial step to sit down and to figure out, why do you want to do an event? What's the need in the area? Is there a need in the area for another event? Sometimes you're better off forming a collaboration with somebody else who already has the event. So always think about, what is your why? And you want to actually sit down and write down what your why is, what your goal is, what are you planning for people to learn from your event, what will be their takeaways from your event, what will they leave with, what is important to you to make sure that the people attending your event come away with. So what is your why? Number 2, this is important, because you want to know who will be attending your event. And you also want to decide, how many people do you want to attend the event? I often tell people, think about the fact that you want to have a number that as far as attendance, you want to make sure that you create a number that you can balance out the tickets and all the other costs and get to the right amount, that you cover all your expenses. Because remember, the goal is to create a profitable event. We're not here to have just another big party. So anytime that everybody has left with something, the speakers have left with something, the attendees have left with something, and you left with a hole in your pocket, that was just a big party. And nobody wants to plan just a big party. You can have a birthday party, whatever, anytime. But when it comes to events like conferences and seminars and retreats and all those things, you want to make sure that you end in the black and not the red. So who will be attending your event? How do you decide who will be attending your event? Number one, think about the gender that you want attending your event. Do you want a woman or a man or men, or do you want both? You know, the environment and the energy in the building is so much different when you have either all female or all male, and it's really different when you have a mix. So it is important to decide, am I going to focus on all women, like our Success Women's Conference, or are you going to focus on all men? Now, I can honestly tell you along the way, as far as speakers and stuff, you always want to start including both genders, because it actually enhances your conference. But again, you want to decide which gender or both do you want to focus on. Number two, you want to make sure that you also decide what age group. What's your age group that you want to focus on when you're planning an event? You know, what is that age group? Now, I want to go back and talk about back to your why. And I wanted to tell you a story here because I kind of want to share to you why it's so important to decide the reason why you're doing an event. So my partner and I, when we were planning Success, one of the things that we knew right from the beginning is that we knew that there was a need for a conference in the area. Okay, there were many conversations about we should have a women's conference. We should have a women's conference. Well, I had been planning events by then for many years, but we probably talked about having a women's conference in this area for at least almost 10 years, maybe more. But anyway, during that time frame, when sitting down and talking during branding meetings and just working on my company, my home care company, we finally just looked at each other and said, women really need a conference. Yes, we had events, women group meetings, and breakouts and seminars, different things separately by other organizations. And many a times when you're in an area, you see a lot of times the same speakers, the same people talking, different year, same flavor, right? So we knew we needed to bring something different to the area. And because of that, we decided, why don't we just do this? My partner looked at me and said, hey, why don't we just do this? And I'm like, yeah. Of course, me just jumping in feet first. I'm like, yes, let's do this. And in 6 months, 6 to 9 months, I was maybe close to 9. I always recommend 9 to 12 months when you're really planning an event. But we had just decided, if we don't do it now, when, right? So we did. And we already knew that women needed to be inspired and empowered, right? They needed that. That's what they really were not getting. They were attending things and they were getting some takeaways, but they weren't inspired and they were not empowered. And we knew some of the women needed to get a recharge. They needed to refocus. Some of them were transitioning. So they needed something in addition to that. And I, being a master collaborator, and I love connecting people, I knew that people needed to connect on a bigger level, not just focused on meeting people locally, but meeting people from other areas. So that's why we created the Success Women's Conference, which our first year we had over 540 people in attendance. And then the last few years, we've had over 1,000 people in attendance. And we've been able to draw in top keynote speakers like Dr. Yana Van Sant, Robin Roberts, Lisa Nichols, the international motivational speakers, and the next speaker that's coming up who blew up Success when she came, Cheryl Wood. And so we from just sitting down and figuring out what we thought women need and what the outcome should be, because we had a plan, we were able to draw in over 540 people. And now we're over 1,000 every year now. So anyway, that being said, I just wanted to make sure to share that, because a lot of times people say, well, I know I have to have a plan, but your plan has to have a purpose. Your plan has to have a mission. Your vision must be understood in order to be successful at that plan. So I want to go back to where I was at number 2. Yes, you want to make sure that you have the right gender. You want to make sure you have the right age group. Now, I'm going to go back to discuss age. Why is age important? Most people think, well, whoever comes, that's great. And that is great. You want to get a multitude, you want to get a different variety of ages in there. But in addition to that, you want to make sure that you have the people that are going to spend money. So what's your target age group? So if you're looking at people that are 50 and above, guess what? Most of them have money, okay? Most of them have money and they have time. They tend to have already put in a lot of hours into their career, a lot of years, and therefore they can also take off. So if you're doing a 2 to 3 day conference, they can probably take off and be there the whole time, right? In addition to that, they may be entrepreneurs. Most people by then are transitioning into their second career, or they're starting their own business or have started their own business. So they see and understand the importance of attending a conference, right? So these are the people that are probably going to buy your high-end tickets. More likely than not, those will be the people at least somewhere in there, maybe a little younger, but definitely that age group is going to be, as we call ours, the elite ticket holder. The other age group, millennials. So why look at millennials? Why do you want to make sure when you're looking at them, what do you want to consider? Well, let's face it, most millennials are just getting started these days, especially now. And so therefore, they're probably not going to buy your high end. Some of them will, and that is wonderful. You want to make sure that you look at that. But they're also going to be a good bit of your butts in the seat tickets. That's what I call your regular, your standard, your least expensive ticket, because these are the people that are going to be there, but they're going to be looking at a lower end ticket. They're probably not going to spend as much money at the conference as if it was the older generation, as far as the 50 something, 40 something older, will spend more on a ticket. So you definitely want to consider that when you are looking at who do you want to attend, who's your target audience. And again, I want to stress, it should be a mix. The other thing is, what's their occupation? Again, this is important when considering how to plan your conference and who's attending, because when you look at, say for instance, they're a career person or an entrepreneur, or you looking, maybe it's beauticians, etc. You want to actually write down, these are the people I'm targeting. It doesn't mean that's all you're going to get, Well, you want to make sure you come up with a plan to go after those people as well. If you're dealing with career and we're talking age as well, and you're looking at the high-end ticket, when you put all that together, you may get a CEO, CFO. You may want to come up with a plan with some of those people to be in the city. You definitely want to have people that make decisions at your conference, because those people are going to do what? They're going to do more than attend. They're going to visit your vendor booths. They're going to check them out. They're going to spend because they've already budgeted for it, or they really have, at that age, disposable income. So it really doesn't matter. They whip out that credit card and they're spending. So that's going to make your vendors happy. So the other thing you want to do when you're looking at who is attending, start with your own contacts. Your own contacts. Who are your followers? Who are already behind you and willing to go and do and participate in the things you're already doing? In addition to that, who's following your team members? Who are they? Who do they draw in? So you want to look at that, when you are deciding who should be in the conference. And then the other thing that you can do a survey. Most of us, and if you don't have one, you need to have a database. I want to tell you that it's important to have a database where you collected names and contacted people and build a database. Get you a good CRM, that you can use. One of the easiest, I think, is MailChimp. And then you have others like Infusionsoft and so on that you can use as well. But get and build your database, because these are the people you can roll the information out to and ask them, what are they looking for? All the questions that you're asking, but you want to be streamlined. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that you check out similar events that look like yours. That is also a great, people call it, stalking or cyber stalking, but look, that's what everybody does. So you want to look and see, what are other events offering? I want to plan a women's conference. Trust me, there are plenty. So therefore, you should look at other conferences. Now, I'm going to say, you may not know this, but somebody told me the other day, did you know if you put all the conferences together in the world, it would be the 14th largest nation in the world. So people do attend conferences, and there are many out there that you can go online and check out that looks like the one that you're putting together. So number 3, so you want to look at your date, and I put these together when I'm in my planning mode. Date, location, city, hotel. These are things that go together and are really essential when you're starting to make a plan for your event, right? I do a lot of conferences. Other people do other kind of events. But look at your dates. I don't care how small or big it is. These things are going to impact your success when putting together an event. So the first thing I would suggest that you do is go to Convention and Bureau and check out the list of events that are coming up in your area. Every city has one, every town, state, whatever. But look around and yes, start locally, but also go regionally. If you're looking at bringing in, I would say, more than 100 people, then you want to look and see who regionally or in the next couple of states that may come. So what events that are happening right now that may impact my events? When I say events, I'm thinking start with also go to your chambers and look at what they're having. Go to your women organization. You can do all this on the internet, and you can go to the women organization, other events, festivals, anything that brings in people could affect your event. So if somebody's having an event with over 1,000 people and they're targeting the same people that you're targeting, you may not be able to be successful in selling your tickets. And I always tell people, don't ever forget that your local market, wherever you're having your event, they are your butts in the seat tickets. Most of the locals are going to they're at least going to want to take off and check out a day or so of your conference. If they do, then you want to make sure that there's nothing else that's drawing their attention that even you don't want to miss, right? So keep that in mind. Also, the location, where it's located. Is it easy to get to and from? Not just for people coming out of town, but your locals. If it's going to take me an hour getting to the event and back and forth, that may not be the right location. Wherever the majority of your people are housed, that is truly where you would prefer to have your event, whatever city, if you're a local person. If you're out of town, you want to look at, is it a place that people want to come to? Is the hotel something that attracts people to it? So keep that in mind when you are planning your location of your event. The city is key. You know, many people have events in Las Vegas because why? People want to go throw those dices, right? So they come in there to attend your event and they want to also do a little extra. People like to go to Miami, you know, and other places, you know, so keep that in mind. Hot spots for cities. A lot of people like to go where there are beaches. Well, there are plenty of beaches down where I'm at. Plenty of beaches and plenty of casinos. So you get double, both for one. So keep that in mind because that really does impact your event and whether you have a profitable event or not. And so keep all these things in mind. Are they able to go back and forth easily? And I always say, ideally, if you're planning an event and you're looking at the location, a hotel or whatever, ideally you definitely would like to have it all in one location. You know, that would be ideal. And when you're looking at the one location, you want to make sure that it has the space that you need. Do they have a room that houses everybody at the same time? Do they have the breakout space that flows easily and allows your people when they're moving around to interact with each other? You know, does it allow your vendors to be seen? And trust me, I've stumbled through a few of these and made my own mistakes. And so therefore, and every year, sometimes, especially if you're changing location, can be a challenge. So make sure that you're looking at these things when you're planning your event. These are essential. Well, I have to now get to the most critical part of planning, and we all know what it is. It's your budget, your finances. And I always call it the silent sleeper because your attendees have no clue. They're really not thinking about your budget and whether you benefit or whether you come out in the black or red. They don't really care. They're there for the experience. So it's important that you sit down and come up with a budget. And remember, we're not planning a big party, okay? This is how to plan a profitable event. So you want to start with on your expense side. Okay, here's three things to think about. What are your must-have? You can't, if conference won't run without it. And then number two, what are the things that you would like to have? But you know, if you don't get it, you don't get it. You can't afford it. And number three, it's just your dream list, things that you would like to have. And eventually you may add it to your conference. But it's essential that you do these three things first so that you know where to put your revenues, your must. So what are some of your must? Number one, venue. Now, if you're fortunate and you're able to get the venue free, hey, that's great. But keep in mind, when you're booking that venue, there are other things that come underneath that, like food and beverage. One of the biggest part that I've noticed in most of our contract negotiation is AV. People often forget how much it costs to have your AV, which is audio visual, which creates your sound and all those things. Many places like convention centers, that is going to be a big cost. And so you want to go into that, and in some of them it's non-negotiable. So you want to plan the budget, put that in your budget. Make sure you have your venue and everything on it. And we go over that when I'm doing in my coaching classes. I always go over that because people forget those little details that catch them in the end. So we're working on profitable. We're working on making money, right? Then number two, speakers. Speakers, your keynote is essential, but being smart about how much you want to spend is also essential. So you may want to have that dream list of speakers and then that list of speakers that fit in your budget. And don't just be online picking anybody or contacting agents. Try to use some contacts that'll save you some money. Number three, marketing. We're talking revenue now, and we're talking expenses. What is going to cost you to put this together? Marketing is key. If you're not planning to spend money on marketing, you probably should not be putting together an event anyway. So it's important that you put in your budget a marketing plan, a marketing strategy, and the cost of what that looks like. And that should include stuff like social media, ad promotions, all those type of things that cost money. Number four, you want to put down hotel rooms that you may need for your speakers. Some of the speakers, sometimes up front, they don't ask, and then you don't ask. And unfortunately, you might get stuck with that, an extra expense, unexpected expense. So go ahead and budget for, what you think you can afford. Number five, decor. Now, if you're fortunate, you've rented this beautiful place, and like some of our casinos where I live, they already provide the decor. So you may be fortunate, and trust me, it's not always true. So most of the time, you're going to have to plan to create that experience, because looks do matter. And it is important that you make sure that you have the right decor. And number six, admin. You got to have help. So you got to have that help that takes care of your organizing part, collecting the money, tickets, all that stuff. Technology. Oh, yeah, you're probably thinking, well, I don't need no technology. Yes, you do. There are technologies like Hootsuite that helps you post everywhere, MailChimp. Remember, I was talking about CRMs, and all those have different prices. Eventbrite, a system that allows you to help get your money for your tickets. That Stripe and others are really great programs that you'll need to use. Now, the other side of this is revenue. You want to make sure that you make a list of where you plan to generate money. Now, I'm going to just give you some that I think you should have, and then you can always add to that as well. And like I said, we tend to go over this in the class and get creative with it. Tickets, vendors, sponsors. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, sponsors are number one. Now, if you can't sell your sponsorship, that is a problem, because you are the CEO of your organization. And I'm going to tell you, like I heard George Frazier say at his conference, if you're a CEO and you can't sell, you're not a CEO. And that's the same thing with directing and producing a conference. You are the head of that event. So therefore, you must be able to sell your vision so that you can pay for your event. Then in addition to that, some of the other ones, just go through real quick. You can live stream. Vendors are really important, and pricing those right. Same thing with tickets, having different levels. You want to have the butts in the seat ticket. In addition to that, you want to have an elite ticket so people can have an experience, but make sure they're having an experience. And then digital speakers, that's another stream of income that you can have. So I'm just going to leave it there because I want to make sure that we go ahead and talk about just a few other things that I want to just briefly go back and highlight on. Building your team is number 2 on my overall planning list. I'm not going to be able to go into details on that because we're running out of time, but you want to make sure you have somebody that can help you get that money. somebody who doesn't mind asking, and they don't care if it's a yes or no. They're going to go until they get you some people that will help you pay for your event. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you have creatives on your team and people like that, people that head up volunteers, logistics. Logistics, you can actually hire out somebody that help you find your great location. That is just some of the things you want to identify. Streams of revenue, and I already went over sponsors that can help you, and there are different types of sponsors you can have. Also boost program ads. That's another stream of income that you can create. Speakers, I just want to tell you, speakers are really important in putting butts in the seats. There are different techniques that I use to make sure that I get speakers that have followers. So there are many tips on that. I don't have time to go through those steps today, but I'm telling you, it's really important. Promoting your event. Don't just put a flyer on the page and say, oh my goodness, I posted and they're going to see it and everybody's going to come. No, the old saying, if you build it, they will come. When it comes to event, it's not true if you don't make the plan, and you need a successful plan. And I just want to say, if you go to the booth section, you'll find that I have a program that's called How to Build, How to Create a Profitable Event. And like I said early on, there are 5 steps that I go over and teach in a class for that. And for this audience, Evacon, I am offering 50% off on that program. If you're a seasoned event planner or you're new to plan an event, and trust me, I'm going to tell you this, if you're a speaker, coach, if you are an author, etc., you should be planning your own event. And you also should be planning a virtual event as well, which I also go over. And so I'm telling you now, it is important in this season that you consider doing your own event. And you can find my information, and you can always contact me. I'm on all platforms. One of my favorite, LinkedIn. I always tell people, you're not on LinkedIn, you are missing out, especially now. We know during this time there will be some layoffs. And so put your profile there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on Pinterest and YouTube. You can find me on all these platforms under Kearn Crockett Cherry, or PRN Home Care, and look for my conferences as well in the booth. As I mentioned before, I did mention one, Power Up Summit, and you can come and get powered up July the 31st through August 2nd. And you'll also find in my booth Success Women's Conference, September the 11th through the 13th. So if you are planning an event and you need help, contact me. My name is Kearn Cherry, and I am so excited that I had the opportunity today to share my tips and my information on making a plan for a profitable event. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me as well. So thank you again.